There's a theory that many voters don't pay attention to political campaigns until the very last days before an election. That makes this coming period of time crucial for candidates wanting to get their message out. And increasingly, politicians are turning to the social networking medium Twitter to have their voices heard.
We'd still like to hear from you, so you can send emails, Facebook messages and tweets to the usual addresses.
Yesterday, our ABC reporter Margaret Paul was flying over far northwest New South Wales and posted quite a few aerials on Twitter.
Or you can tweet at 612 Brisbane to take part in that particular discussion today.
In the mainstream media, the online phenomenon called Twitter is spreading its tentacles. Twitter is a bit like sending a text on the internet. It's short, it's public and it's instant. Each message is limited to 140 characters, just a brief sentence or two. For journalists covering the Queensland election campaign, it's become a tool of their trade.
I'm not sure if it's dumbing down, it's a fastening up, if that's a word. It's making things happen more quickly, and it's all part of the 24/7 news cycle now.
Twitter is great because you can get out immediately if something funny has happened, but it's also a serious way to instantly, it's the quickest way to report an announcement.
It's not just journalists reporting on politicians.
Data, you take a picture of us.
Politicians also tweet about themselves.
We can all go on my Twitter account.
Twitter provides one more platform to have their policies and opinions heard and allows them to interact directly with voters.
Everyone seems to be trying to get online, get on Twitter and to start using it for their own political uses. In Queensland now, I think are tracking about 80 politicians or candidates in the election at least, who've joined Twitter, who are active there. Internationally too, there's been a strong trend towards Twitter take-up, led probably particularly by politicians in the US, where use of social media now is a very common thing to do during election campaigns.
Barack Obama has 13 million followers on Twitter. Anna Bligh has nearly 30,000.
When you're in an election campaign, one of the tasks is to communicate with the electorate, to be out there talking to people every day about your ideas, about your record and about the things you want to do for Queensland. And you do that in many ways. And social media is a growing part of the public conversation. Not only do people get instant information about what I'm saying or what my team is saying, I get a pretty instant reaction, good and bad, to what we're doing. So I find that a very useful thermometer, if you like, about the electorate and its views.
But it's not everyone's cup of tea.
No, I'm not that technologically advanced. I know it gets some people in trouble because they write things that they'd rather regret. And for those of us that incline to be a bit hot-headed, that's not a good place to be.
Campbell Newman is still learning the art of Twitter.
Give me time, give me time.
I think they're starting to realise that they can't ignore it. And Campbell Newman has tried to ignore it. And his very first interview I ever did with him when he announced that he was going to run for Premier, he said he hated it. So that's why I was on the mission to get him onto Twitter. And I'm not sure if he's embracing it completely yet. It's more a bit of a fun thing.
Twitter can be fun, providing behind-the-scenes campaign colour, but it's also a place full of rumour and scuttlebutt. Twitter has its own version of faceless men with fake accounts and false identities, mischievously spreading misinformation about political rivals. At the Queensland University of Technology, the political Twitter sphere is being closely monitored. Axel Bruns is researching the impact of social media on election campaigns here and around the world. He says its influence is hard to measure, but its potential reach is huge.
At the moment, the main Twitter audience seems to be in the 25 to 45 age range. Probably more likely to be urban, more likely to be educated, more likely to be affluent. And that, of course, also means they are a particularly influential group of people in political life. There's probably between 1 and 2 million Australians who are on Twitter at the moment, and internationally between 200 and 400 million users.
I'm not sure if it's actually going to be the future of communications, but it's on the way to being this is how it's going to be, minute by minute.
And of course, you can follow 7:30 on Twitter or see our stories again on the ABC website.